Saints, we started this revelation of the Son of the living God that's in chapters, the book of Revelation chapters 4 and 5. And we entered through a door. We saw there's a door we must enter. And that door was in John chapter 10. And let's look again starting in verse 27. John 10:27. The Lord said, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give eternal life to them, and they shall never perish." And listen, saints, and no one shall snatch them out of my hand. And then he went on to say in verse 29, "My Father, who has given them to me." Like we've had these messages, you're chosen by the Father. And he says you're predestined. Those he foreknew before the foundation of the earth. "My Father who has given them to me." Remember these verses, saints. "My Father who has given them to me is greater than all." Listen, "and no one is able to snatch them out of the Father's hand." First he said that no one's able to snatch them out of his hand. Then he said no one's able to snatch them out of the Father's hand. And then he goes on to say in verse 30, "I and the Father are one." And he just ends it there. So now we're in Revelation chapters 4 and 5. And in chapter 4, we saw that one sitting on the throne. As John's caught up into heaven, the first thing he sees is that one sitting on the throne. And as we saw, that's the Father. If you didn't see the previous message, you need to see it to tie these things together. But that one is clearly the Father. And then in chapter 5, verse 1, "And I saw in the right hand of him who sat upon the throne," that one that John saw sitting on the throne, who is the Father that we clearly saw. "And I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll written inside and on the back, sealed up with 7 seals. Like we said, that's us, saints. That's those that the Father, that's the ones that the Father has chosen, predestined, the ones he foreknew before the foundation of the earth. But that scroll with us, our names in it, is sealed up with 7 seals. Because in those days, if you had a debt, the debt was recorded. It was rolled up on a scroll and it was sealed with wax or clay seals. Until that debt was paid, that stayed sealed. When the debt was paid, the seals were broken. So we have these names, these ones chosen by the Father, but they have this penalty against them. This debt, it's sealed up until the debt is paid. And then we saw John in Revelation chapter 5 verse 4. "And John began to weep greatly when he saw this scroll in the Father's hand." He begins to bawl. It means he's just bawling because no one was found worthy to open the book or to even to look into it. Now those on the broad road to destruction, they want to tell you that this is going to open up the tribulation, that Christ is the one sitting on the throne. It can't be. As we saw and as we'll touch upon here again, that's the Father. And they tell you on the broad road to destruction that John's bawling because no one's found worthy to start the tribulation. John's the apostle of love. He wouldn't be crying to start the tribulation, to bring hell upon the earth. As we saw in Revelation chapter 7, there's hundreds of millions of people that get saved during the tribulation. John's not bawling to start killing billions of people. John's bawling, crying, weeping because he knows that's us. And we have this debt against us, this penalty. And as at this point, the seals haven't been broken. So he's crying. But then in Revelation 5:6, then John sees a lamb standing as if slain. And that verse means freshly slain. So John sees this freshly slain lamb rise up there. And as we said, this took place 2,000 years ago. That's in John chapter 20, when Mary was at the tomb looking for him and couldn't find him. And then he spoke to her and she recognized that he had risen from the grave. And he said, "Don't touch me. I haven't ascended to my Father." This is where that happens. This is him rising to heaven. A lamb standing as if slain. This is not starting the tribulation. This is that lamb rising up for that debt, that forgiveness, having paid the price to set these people free, having paid the price to break those seals. And in Revelation, we'll see this even more. All those on the broad road to destruction want to tell you that that's Christ on the throne and he wants to start the tribulation. John's not bawling to start the tribulation. That's not what it is. Because look it, I'll show you even more. That's this freshly slain lamb that has paid the debt, paid the price to release this debt, to release this penalty, to set these people free. Because in Revelation chapter 5 verse 7, and he came. Who came? The lamb, this freshly slain lamb that rose up. And he came, and he took it out of the right hand who sat upon the throne. He took what? That scroll that's sealed up. The Father sitting on the throne. He has in his right hand this scroll that's written, and it has these seals. It's the sin against us, that penalty, that debt that hadn't been paid yet. Because in verse 6, the freshly slain lamb rises up. He's paid the debt. He's released us. He set us free from our sins. And in verse 7, and he came and took it out of the right hand to the Father. Remember what it said here? My Father, who has given them to me. Saints, it's all right here. It's a revelation of him and his grace and his mercy and his blood. But there on the broad road to destruction, they want to tell you it's all death and destruction. It's glory. Why don't they see it? Because it said, my Father who has given them to me is greater than all. And no one is able to snatch them out of the Father's hand. And he said, I and the Father are one. And he came, the lamb, this freshly slain lamb, and he came and he took it, the scroll, out of the right hand of him who sat. No one's able to snatch it out of the Father's hand. Him and the Father are one. Those are predestined by the Father. He came and he took it out of the Father's hand. This can't be starting the tribulation. It's ridiculous. Because look now, the Father has that scroll with this debt, with these seals. The freshly slain lamb rises up. He takes the seal. They want to tell you he's going to start the tribulation. He took the scroll, with the seals. And what happens? This freshly slain lamb took this scroll from the Father. And what happens? Starting the tribulation? Is that what it's talking about? No, look at here. Revelation 5:8. And when he had taken the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having each one a harp and golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints. So he takes it. The 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fall down before him with incense for the prayers of the saints. Now it's going to show you, what's this all about? What's this scroll about that the Father has? What has the Lamb done? What is it about that he took that scroll? Verse 9, and they, the 24 elders and the 4 living creatures, and they sang a new song. Something new has happened. He took that scroll with the seals, and they sang a new song. There's a new thing. What is it? I'm going to start the tribulation and I'm going to kill 2 billion people. No, what does it say? Why does everybody not see it? It says, worthy art thou. You're worthy, Lamb. Worthy art thou to take the scroll and to break its seals. You're worthy to take those with that debt, that penalty of sin. You paid the price for their debt. You paid the price with your blood, and that 4 living creatures and 24 elders. They're singing a new song as he rises up. And what are they saying? This is what it's about. You're worthy to take the scroll. You're worthy to break its seals. Why? To start the tribulation? No, listen. For you were slain and did purchase for God the Father. You purchased for God with your blood men from every tribe and tongue and people and nation. This is what it's about. As soon as he rises up, the freshly slain lamb, he immediately takes the scroll that's sealed up, that those that have that debt, that penalty against them. He immediately, as he rises up, takes that from the Father's hand. Immediately, they're singing of a new song. You're worthy to take the scroll. You're worthy to break its seals, to release that debt. That's what it's about. Can you see it? Why? What's happening as soon as he takes it? Worthy art thou to take the book and to break its seals, to release that debt. For thou was slain. What? It's not talking about the tribulation. For you were slain and didst purchase for God the Father sitting on that throne. For you were slain and you purchased for God with your blood men from every tribe and tongue and people and nation. You see it? How is this starting the tribulation? The freshly slain lamb rises up, takes this scroll with this debt, this penalty that's sealed up, and immediately a song breaks out, a new song. You're worthy. Thou art worthy to take that out of the Father's right hand, as we saw in John chapter 10, and to break its seals, to release the debt, to release the penalty, to set them free of that debt. Because you were slain and did purchase for God with your blood. How's this talking about the tribulation? It's a revelation of Yeshua the Messiah. With your blood, men from every tribe and tongue and people and nation. It's all the peoples chosen by the Father, predestined, preordained, that he foreknew before the foundation of the earth. And look in verse 10. And thou hast made them. What's it talking about, the tribulation? He took the scroll. It's not the tribulation. Why are they so blind? And thou hast made them, these ones you set free from every tribe and tongue and people and nation. And thou hast made them to be a kingdom and priest to our God. And they will reign upon the earth. How can this be starting the tribulation? In the next message, we're going to see the breaking of the seals, what it really is, because it's another glorious revelation of the Son of the living God, his blood, his grace, his mercy. This was the Father sitting on that throne. There's a debt, a penalty against those that he's foreknown, that he predestined, that he chose. No one's able to snatch it out of his hand. But the Lord said, I and the Father are one. And he came and he took it out of the hand of him who sat on the throne. And immediately the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders, they're singing a new song. Not, oh good, glory, the tribulation starting. Oh, we're going to kill millions. No, it goes right to the blood. It goes right to the grace. It goes right to the purchase, paying that debt, releasing those that are bound by debt and sin. And thou wast slain. This is immediately, you were slain. And you did purchase for God the Father with your blood men from every tribe and tongue and people and nation. How do they tell you, how are they so blind, those on the broad road to destruction, that this is opening the tribulation? God's going to kill billions. No, it's a revelation of Jesus Christ. It's the blood. They don't see it. And it seems nobody wants to hear it. But I'll keep saying it. It's a revelation of Yeshua the Messiah. A revelation for those of you in Babylon, a revelation of Jesus Christ.